So now it's my pleasure to introduce New Yorker, Guion Kapoor, who happens to have the Golden Gate Bridge behind him. And I don't blame him because we all spend a significant amount of time in the Bay Area where Alex and Shauna are located. This is great because it's a cross-country event. Guion, please tell us about RTP Seed and then introduce Sanj and Concert.
Awesome. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the fund, but more than that, I'm just going to tell you about what we're seeing in the world a little bit. Let me see if I can. Do you guys see this in full screen, or are you?
Yep. Yeah, we do.
Cool. Perfect. So we're a $30 million fund. We do really early stage investing. We do B2B. We have a slight preference for non-San Francisco, just given valuation. Let's see. One sec. I'm having trouble going from slide to slide. I'll just go to the next one. We focus on a bunch of different stuff, but it's pretty much all bread and butter B2B. We do a lot of digital health, a lot of DevOps, fintech, SaaS. We look at a lot of fun stuff that really has become bread and butter over the last 5 to 7 years for VCs, and we don't really do much consumer. And I think in the world over the last 4 months with COVID, you probably have seen everybody in the world is kind of talking about collaboration. We invested in Ring Central in a mid to late stage financing, but Zoom stock's gone up 4x, Slack stock's gone up 4x. So obviously collaboration has become a big thing in this COVID world and everybody knows about it. But at the same time, I think there's a lot more going on in the world. And for us, we think a lot about I guess what you would call enterprise infrastructure and how it applies. And in this world where everybody is using the internet, we have issues where people can't get access to bandwidth, where website response is very slow, and it just causes terrible user experience. And as a result of those really issues, you're seeing some nice growth in enterprise infrastructure companies. So we led the Series A in Datadog. That company's worth about $25 billion now. It's 3x in the last roughly 5 months. PagerDuty's doubled from its lows in kind of March, also an enterprise infrastructure business. And it's pretty clear that these picks and shovels are just going to continue to boom over the next couple of years. Oh, I don't know why I went back. And what's the reason for this effectively is that cloud is just growing like crazy. Many of you are probably aware of this, but its growth is exponential. It drives a lot of AWS's really contribution margin, or Amazon's contribution margin. It's massive. SaaS is also growing like crazy and has become a big spend source for every employer. But what's interesting is that at the top end of the market, SaaS is actually smaller. So you kind of see that for companies that have above 1,300 employees or above 2,000 employees, average SaaS spend per employee is much lower. So there's a lot of headroom still left for software, whether it's data center and infrastructure or software and software as a service to kind of penetrate the top of the market. And it's going to continue to happen. People are talking about this, like Aaron Levy at Box is saying, as a result of COVID, all these employers are really focusing more on cloud. Microsoft's seeing the same thing, where all of a sudden everybody is super, super interested in infrastructure and cloud, and because they need to adopt this stuff when people are at home. So what does that mean for us? I think we're focusing less on kind of what the bread and butter was for venture capital over the last, or many venture funds over the last 5 to 10 years. I think we've all seen a lot of restaurant tech, micro mobility, real estate tech was really hot. And we're also focusing less on, I guess, what people would call the red ocean hot spaces that are clearly accelerated by COVID. Things like telehealth, e-commerce enablement. E-commerce is obviously booming, but it's a little bit late. And instead, we're spending more time on, I guess, what we think the true tailwinds are going to be, which is enterprise infrastructure, things like SaaS sales and things, and technology to help software as a service companies grow. And Sandra will be talking about that. Payments infrastructure, digital health that's not telehealth, the automation of manufacturing, which is probably a byproduct of reducing labor in factories, and then robotic process automation in companies. All that said, like every venture fund, I think we have to stay nimble. And this is just a quote by Doug Leone at Sequoia, who says, we all have our themes. We all have what we think we're interested in. But the reality is, as investors in particular, we just listen, and we listen to meet compelling entrepreneurs who present us with a compelling vision. And that's kind of what Sanj is. So I'm going to leave it to Sanj in a second, but effectively, his company is called Concert Finance. It really helps salespeople with two things: calculating commissions, and then with some of the regulatory tailwinds of ASC. And Sanj is just a world-class domain expert CEO who's really built a following in the space. He has reference customers, and I'm excited to let him talk about what he's doing.